This is Gary Atensi with CNTV, and today we're in Colorado Springs, Colorado. We're at the Carmel Community Living Corporation. For over 36 years, have been helping folks throughout Colorado. I am here with the program director, Dennis. Let's begin with you, if we will. Share with us a little bit how it is that you got involved in this particular industry.
It was an accident, basically. I was looking for a part-time job. Carmel started in Boulder, actually, in 1969. We were a residential facility when people started moving out of the big state institutions. They started moving into smaller places in the community, and Carmel House was one of the first in the state to open in 1969 in Boulder. And I was working in Boulder at the time and had my own business, which failed, and had some of the residents from Carmel as my customers for my business and some of the staff, and they said, we need some part-time help, so why don't you come and apply for a job? So I applied for a part-time temporary job until I found something I liked better, and that was 36 years ago today, and I'm still here.
Share with me a little bit some of these symptoms, challenges that folks come through the door here and you're able to help with.
They run the gamut from people with very high needs, medical, behavioral, psychological, people with dual diagnosis. They have a mental illness as well as developmental disability. We have people who who you would not recognize them walking down the street as having any kind of disability. So there are all kinds of functioning levels in between.
Obviously, 36 years you have grown in the community. You've got different programs that you've added to it as well. What are some of the programs that were began before we go into some of the newer ones?
We started off basically residential, since we were a residential facility. We had done that for 15 years before we closed the facility down, and everyone moved out into their own residences or living with a host family. And from there we expanded into day program and vocational services. And then as the state started adding services to Medicaid waivers, we started providing those also. So we do supported living services and children's services also.
Linda, basically, as the president, share with me a little bit what you oversee here and how many are we talking about on staff?
On staff, we have over 100 staff, but we're throughout Colorado. So we have Colorado Springs, we're in Denver, we're in Longmont, we're in Greeley, and Fort Collins. Way over 100 staff throughout the state.
Excellent. So basically, they're overseen by a medical staff in each one of the locations?
Each one of the regions has a nurse on facility.
One of the programs that just began recently is that of the Carmel Brain Center. Share with me, first of all, what neuroplasticity is. Define that for our viewers, if you would.
Sure. Neuroplasticity is basically the ability of the brain to change. And that's actually a new concept that science has been researching and developing different therapies in understanding how the brain can work more efficiently. Carmel Brain Centers came together just a few years ago. It's just a baby in its existence. And we are offering a cutting-edge multi-modality program to help encourage neuroplasticity. We offer cognitive rehabilitation. So we are helping with auditory and visual processing disorders. We're helping with focusing and concentration issues, helping with the individual's psychomotor systems and how the brain helps regulate mobility.
Let me ask you, obviously, neurological, neurodevelopmental dysfunction, that can really, any age, it can hit us any time. We're talking about children all the way up to adults or even senior citizens. Share with me some of the symptoms, possibly. Once again, give me a scenario of what we might see in a child.
The youngest child that we've treated here at Carmel Brain Centers has been 3 years old. Children have many diagnoses. An example of one would be an individual with cerebral palsy, possibly, muscle atrophy and low interaction. You really can't understand how they're communicating, basically. And with the therapies that we can use with them, we can see mood regulation. We can see a sense of communication, whether it's through eye contact or a relaxation of the body, per se.
Basically, this isn't a one-size-fits-all.
No,
we're talking about a multi-modality that you're able to basically go and check out with each person out there. Share with us, it's been said basically that the eyes are the window to the soul. Your type of would be basically the ears are another way to get into the brain.
Yes.
Share with me the listening program. What is that exactly?
The listening program has a modality of therapy that was put out through Advanced Brain Technologies, and it's a psychoacoustical mode of therapy where they're listening to orchestrated music, classical music, with discriminating sounds, maybe high tones, low tones, maybe nature sounds embedded in it, maybe, very specific sounds to encourage auditory processing.
So we're talking about certain types of music have a certain structure to them.
Certain structure to
And
them, depending on the tempo also.
tempo.
And then it's hooked up to a bone conduction amplifier, which is really exciting. So they're listening three-dimensionally, not only through sound conduction, but bone conduction.
So basically the organization of that music is helping your brain get more organized instead of disorganized.
Yes, exactly.
That is interesting. Share with me a little bit, not only your brain being stimulated, but actually you work through the entire body physically, almost synchronizing the two of them together. Share with me the interactive metronome. What is that?
Yes, interactive metronome is also a modality of therapy used in thousands of rehabilitative centers throughout the country. And basically, science has proven that rhythm and timing is very, very essential for the body to work in sync. So when you improve somebody's rhythm and timing, when you reduce their errors of rhythm,
Right.
you are actually improving their mobility, you're improving their balance, you're improving their coordination. We have rhythm in everything that we do. We speak with rhythm, we listen with rhythm, we walk with rhythm, everything like that. So there's just so many different areas of your life that you can improve when you improve your rhythm.
It would seem to me that folks that have been possibly traumatized or even in an accident, they would benefit, obviously. But quite honestly, mental clarity, focus, those have to help everyone. Share with me your Brain Builder training program. Is that open to everyone?
Yes, it is open for everyone. You don't even need a diagnosis to access the Brain Builder. We have businessmen that come in that they just want to get an edge on their memory skills or their speaking abilities or things like that. So, yes, it is open to anyone.
We've got different areas under one umbrella of this company, quite honestly. It's evolved into something probably more than you imagined when you first started out. Share with me something new that has happened here. We spoke a little bit how music is able to help in a therapy process. Tell me a little bit about what you do.
I provide a variety of trainings. I teach people about disability etiquette and the use of proper language when referring to people who have disabilities. I also provide disability-specific etiquette tips. There are 11 really important laws that directly pertain to people who have disabilities. One of those laws I specialize in, and that's the Americans with Disabilities Act. That covers private employers with 15 or more employees or state and local government employers regardless of number of employees. State and local government entities. Federal government is not covered by the Americans with Disabilities Act. That's the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. I also talk to public accommodations, which are private businesses. Telecommunications are also covered by the Americans with Disabilities Act, so I provide those kinds of trainings. I also provide a specialized intensive 4-hour workshop that I created many years ago. I teach people everything they need to know to continue to learn on their own. And I have specialized workshops. One of them I talk about effective communication in the Americans with Disabilities Act. Another one, I teach sign language classes. ASL is the third most used language in the U.S., so it really is important for people to learn sign language to communicate. A lot of people with disabilities have delayed or non-existent speech, and I also do one teaching sign language to young children, infants, toddlers, and preschoolers. People can contact me and let me know how long I have. I won't do a training under an hour. There's no topic really that I can even touch the tip of the iceberg in less than an hour. So I find out who the audience is, what they want to learn from that, and I customize the trainings according to their request, what their needs are.
Interesting. And so basically, are these classes provided here in the facility, or do you actually go to the people as well?
Both. My specialized workshops I do off-site, but on-site here I provide a 7-week really intensive course, and it's really important that when people learn sign that they understand and respect the community of people who use sign as a primary language. So I talk to my students about deaf culture, about the linguistic continuum. There are different sign systems. American Sign Language is used by the deaf community, also Pidgin Sign English, and that's where you use English. You can talk in English, but sign ASL signs at the same time. You know, signing exact English is another language, so I talk to people about that. I talk to them about the history of deaf education in America. I talk to them about etiquette in communicating with people who are deaf. Carol has completed my course when I worked at another place prior to Carmel. But I'm so blessed to be here at Carmel now.
How does the process start with someone out there? Is it a consultation over the phone, or do they actually come into one of your facilities here and sit down?
Within our system, most of our consumers are funded through Medicaid. And in Colorado, there are agencies called community center boards, and they're like the clearinghouse or referral agencies for all services. So if a couple has a child with a disability or someone becomes disabled, they would go to this community center board and say they need services. If they were found eligible for services or for Medicaid funding, then the CCB would recommend or refer them out to agencies like Carmel.
It seems to me that, quite honestly, we understand how many gyms are out there to work out our physical bodies. Yet it seems like basically here you could actually exercise your brain, and therefore, just like the physical body, see some changes going on. You can also change the brain. Is that what is taught here?
Yes, you can definitely change the brain, reboot the brain, hopefully. Yes.
Hence the word plasticity.
Yes.
Plasticity, right? Share with me a little bit, possibly for viewers out there. Obviously, a lot of different programs under one roof. Is there a certain particular program that we possibly have left out that you think would help ensure that our viewers understand what is provided here?
No, because it's what Carmel is all about is helping individuals with all types of disabilities. At one point in time, Carmel was just focused on individuals that were developmentally disabled, but now we've expanded services to be able to help anybody with a disability. We also contract with Division of Vocational Rehab, and we help people with disabilities find employment so that they can get back into the real workforce and help them to be successful and have a career.
Fantastic. Viewers, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is their website. On the website, obviously, you're going to have their contact information there, and you can reach out to them via email. You can give them a call as well. Basically, check out the website. It has a full wealth of information, everything from references to basically case studies. They've got PDFs that are downloadable there, the research they've done on many of the programs that they have available here. Let me ask you, obviously, 36 years today, I would imagine there's a lot of success stories that you have out there. Without putting a name on any of them, are there any that really come to mind for you as you look back that were kind of powerful for you?
Definitely. There's one individual who lives in Boulder who came from one of the state institutions, as most of our folks did. And she was dually diagnosed. She had a mental illness diagnosis as well as developmental disability. She was fairly high functioning. She can read and write and do basic school kind of or primary education kind of skills. But she had overwhelming mental illness that would cause her to hear things, see things, and she would have outbursts, and she was extremely difficult to deal with in the large facility. There were many times when she had to be restrained and given shots of Thorazine, which was done back in the old days, back before we knew better. Because she was just so out of control. And now she lives independently. She does everything on her own. She has a staff who comes in twice a week just to check on her, make sure she's got food and grocery, and her house is clean, and she's taking her medications, and she rides the bus all over Boulder, and everybody in Boulder knows her. So she's probably the biggest success story that I personally know.
Well, I have a gentleman that came in. He was referred by his primary care physician, actually. That's another way that we are referred throughout the community. And he acquired a traumatic brain injury. He was beaten at his place of work by people who were just coming to rob his establishment, and he was left for dead. And he was in a coma for over 3 months. He woke up and he went through physical therapy, he went through some occupational therapy within the inpatient program, and when he was released, he wasn't able to walk efficiently. He dragged his right leg with him. He had very poor balance. He had to use a cane most of the time. He had no coordination. He had to use prism lenses because his vision was so off kilter. He couldn't see very well. He could not remember from one day to the next. He just, it was just pretty much just starting all over again and try to retrain his brain. And after 3 months of intensive therapy, coming in 3 days a week for an hour per session, he did not need to use the cane at all anymore. His stride had improved so much. He was skipping in sometimes. It was amazing. He didn't need his glasses anymore. He had regained all visual acuity back. And his speech, he spoke as if he was drunk all the time. He was very slurred. He was very, it was very hard to understand him. His speech had improved. His memory had improved. He got back to riding horses, which was one of his loves. He got back to opening up. Well, he started working with a mechanic and started working again, and his whole life just totally improved just after 3 months of brain therapy.
That's amazing. Very amazing.
I've done the entire program. I had a brain injury from birth that I had brain surgery on in 2004, and it really messed with my balance and memory, especially my short term. So I heard about the program and started, and when I started the program, I think my brain speed was at about 775, and when I finished the program, it was about 1675. It probably took 3 or 4 weeks before I started to see some results and started to feel better with my balance and memory. I had done some physical therapy, and basically that was about it. And I was in the middle of graduate school too. The physical therapy didn't seem to have any results, with the balance especially. The brain program, I felt like it was working more on the core issues that I had going. Easy as far as what I was asked to do, but it was very challenging actually doing the activities. It sounds easy when you're saying you're just repeating numbers or tapping your hand to a beat, but in actuality it's really hard. It's quite exhausting. Definitely give it a try. It's a new, innovative approach, and it really does work. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Basically, like you said, this can affect any age group out there. The center itself, is it family orientated or all ages welcome here?
Yes, it is. Since we have kids that come in with behavioral disorders, ADHD, some children on the autism spectrum disorders, we offer parenting classes and social skills classes for family members and for the kids themselves, so that they can better understand the disability, or they can better understand ways to discipline or engage with their children in a more effective way.
Well, I think it's really important to mention that there are 56.7 million Americans who have disabilities. People with disabilities are the nation's largest minority group, and it's the only minority group any of us could join as a result of accident, illness, or injury. So we're talking about a lot of people. A lot of disabilities are invisible, not readily detectable. So we're talking about a lot of Americans that are affected by disability. And their friends and family members as well.
Absolutely. Like you say, it's not always an accident. Sometimes you wake up and you can no longer hear. And so I know what that is like personally. Last time, viewers, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is their website once again. And like I say, their contact information is right there. If you're not sure basically of what program it is you might be looking at, obviously they have a receptionist there that can basically walk through the programs and find out what is best for you. It's a very customized approach. Began 36 years ago, basically today, with an idea of helping people that are disabled, basically challenged through neurodevelopment, disabilities, pretty much everything across the board, and even folks that would like to come in and exercise their brain as well. You can find that here also. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.